No intro? Hey.
You know, we got friends that do podcasts, and some of them do them live, and some of them they don't have a regular schedule, and it's like I can never plan to be there,
Right?
Because it's always like, oh, hey, we're on now, come and join. I'm like, well, I can't do it now. If you give,
yeah,
I don't want to ever become that. But anyway, last couple of weeks it's been like that. Right,
You're trying to be like them, yeah.
I am cat, no, not. So here we are recording on a day we don't usually record on. And I announced a different day last week in a whole different. All right, we'll talk about that.
Perfect.
Hey.
It's all my fault. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if you talked about what's going on in one of your videos. I haven't watched your vlogs in the last several.
Oh yes,
months.
it's in the vlogs.
No,
Yep.
weeks. I guess. It is. All right, so it's out there.
Hey,
So we can
it's
say.
in there.
All right, I don't know if you want to say anything anyway, but whatever. Okay. Hey, welcome back to another episode of 1980s Net.
It's empty. You didn't even drink anything. It's a prop
I
glass.
didn't even mind it.
It's like a Rocky Horror Show. It's just a prop.
Hey,
It's like a placebo drink.
Yeah, we're not really, Marcus. You're right. We really aren't doing it.
No, we're not.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its continued influence today. Hey, my name is Will, and joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts, Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Hi guys.
Hey there. How's it going? Good to see you. Even though it's a weird day, awesome to talk to you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I was just lamenting that shows that don't have a regular record time, like we normally do, it's harder to keep up with when they were going to record. But it is kind of fun to like have these off days because the energy is different because it's like not expecting it. I don't know, right?
Right.
It's keeping us on our toes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that time you had weekend, John. Totally different,
yes,
Johnny.
exactly.
Yeah, totally different.
Yes.
This could be Monday, John.
If we could
No,
record every
during the week is just regular John.
It's always the same. Okay.
if we could record every Sunday to get Weekend Johnny, I would be for it. I would stay up late editing just to do that, John. Just keep that in mind.
Wow. All right. Keep that.
I had been practicing introducing Mo, who was going to fill in for you this week. I swear, I was like, you got to remember. Introduce Mo.
What's his name? How am I going to say this?
Yeah. But look, we switched it up. John was able to join us after all because as we switched some things around, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to join us on our regular recording day. And it just turns out there's news I want to talk to you about, John. I mean,
Oh yes.
I know. Yeah.
Just
Mo
John.
could be like Matt Damon to your Jimmy Kimmel. Just keep bumping him for time every show.
or like Lindsey Buckingham on that Saturday Night Live sketch. You ever see that? He's a guest on. They never get to him.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
Everything runs too long.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, same idea. All right. Anyway, hey, speaking of things I'm going to talk to you about, John, I'm going to tell you right now. It's one of these. It's actually a couple of these different things. But on today's show, we'll review current news stories, some of which John will care about, and maybe have an opinion, and others he will zone out on.
Oh.
But they all happen to be related somehow to 1980s media, including, is the new Running Man set in the 1980s?
Oh, we lost him
Hey,
already.
John.
Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
I have a theory
I
about that.
was already zoning out.
Robert Zemeckis wants to go back to the future, but not the way that you think. Jessica Rabbit, it turns out, is too hot for Disney. Voyager, the Voyager 1 spacecraft phoned home. 1980s 1980s style. And an alien abductee is suing Netflix. We should just play a game, Cat. Which of these stories do you think John would be interested in? I'm thinking it's at least one, definitely. We could agree on that.
Yeah.
But then I think there's a second and maybe a third.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can rank them. I think you could rank them. Sure. Yeah. You have a solid first place, then you got a solid runner up.
Yeah.
Then there's also ran. Yeah, of course.
You want to take a guess, Cat?
There was one of those headlines had the word alien in it.
Okay,
So that's number one.
That's
There we go.
That's definitely.
There's a front runner.
number
Yeah, that's
one.
got to be one. Yeah.
Number 2 had to do
Yeah.
with Voyager 1.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm thinking maybe interested in the Back to the Future musical movie.
Yes.
Okay, all right, we got them all then. All right,
Not bad.
the other two we'll talk, Cat, about the Running Man and about Jessica Rabbit.
We'll just, we can.
Speak amongst yourselves.
figure it
I'll
out.
be here when you're done.
Yes, Doug. We usually do it on Wednesdays. John can't be here. It's back to Wednesdays very soon.
I'm a troublemaker. It's all right. I'll be back soon.
Karen says she has 5 minutes left on last week's episode. You could skip those. I don't remember. That was pretty.
Oh, wait, the one you released today. I didn't even get to. I started it, but I only got 3 minutes into it. Karen, you're way ahead of me.
And we'll say hi to Marcus and Brandon and Nick, and hopefully we didn't miss anybody else. If we did, it's because you didn't say hi. Say hi or lurk. That's fine. All right, hey everybody, let's get started on 1980s Nerds. Oh yeah, I got pictures to show you too. Hey guys, notice I'm not glitching.
Oh my gosh, you're
I'm
not.
on Microsoft Edge because that's what Johnny told me he uses, and he seems every week. So,
Yep.
hopefully that's the problem. Because the people at
Loaded
StreamYard
Chrome
said
one, yeah.
StreamYard was like, "Well, how old's your computer? What's your bandwidth? All the things." I was like, "I got this all covered. It's not me." They just threw.
And then it was you, it turns out.
All right. Hey, as reported by the Daily Mail, the Running Man has been spotted in London. I'm not talking about Forrest Gump. I'm talking about the reboot of the 1980s film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. 3 years after it was first announced, Edgar Wright has finally got around to the highly anticipated remake of the film. It started shooting in London. The British director has taken on the Schwarzenegger-sized task of remaking the cult classic action film based on the novel by Stephen King under the pseudonym of Richard Bachman. What did I miss?
I'm laughing at this Schwarzenegger-sized task.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
Now, Wright so far has not indicated when his version is set and what his take on the classic movie is, although it is reported to stick more to King's original novel. If you don't know, the novel is set in the future year of 2025. And the original movie,
Perilously close to right now.
yes,
Yes.
and could be terrifying because it's set in a dystopian future.
Yes.
Now, maybe it's good news that the original film was set in somewhere between 2017 and 2019, based on some of the story elements that they tell us. We can guess. I got it there. Anyway, so based on what I just told you, I don't understand why some outlets, including the Daily Mail and Screen Rant, are suggesting that the movie is set in the decade in which the original adaptation was released, the 1980s.
Which is cool.
Yeah, but I'll give you what they're basing it on anyway. The Daily Mail points to leading man Glenn Powell, who was spotted on a set at London's iconic Battersea Power Station as he takes on the role made famous by Schwarzenegger. The Daily Mail writes that Powell was dressed in a, quote, 80s-esque ensemble of hoodie layered under a denim shirt and brown jacket for his role as Ben Richards. First of all, does that even sound like an 80s thing? I mean, if you were
No, it doesn't sound 80s to me.
I'll show you the picture here.
It's kind of more 90s. I'm going to say that's a 90s look.
Yeah.
I mean, it is layered, but there's nothing there that's not timeless. And as this very podcast illustrates, even people in the future are going to be enjoying the 80s and the things it had to offer. So it can still be the future. And he's a retro dude. He's like, oh, I like my old retro 80s clothing that I got at the thrift store.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing of this reminds me of anything I wore in the 1980s. I can't. Except John suggested layers, but I still layer today. Do I layer because I layered in the 80s? I think layering is just a thing.
Yes, that's always existed. And also that is not a members only jacket. So
parachute pants.
Right.
I mean, that's a little maybe more stylized, but there's nothing about this 80s. All right, so here's the second thing they point to. Additionally, the Daily Mail highlights, quote, retro 80s cars parked alongside the building.
Okay.
Whether there were more than two, I don't know. But here's the photos of the two that they did point out.
Vaguely familiar.
Yeah,
nice.
Of course. Yes. This is a 1982 Pontiac Trans Am. Of course, made a modified version of it, which actually they changed the nose of it to fit that red Cylon light in there.
Oh, yes.
It was modified by Michael Sheff for Knight Rider, which was a show that was created by Glenn Larson after he created Battlestar Galactica. And the other car that they have showed there is this one. This is a
Lotus?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a 1987 Lotus Esprit Turbo. Now, an earlier model was driven by James Bond in 1981's For Your Eyes Only, but other than that, it's not terribly iconic.
Is this one also amphibious?
Ooh.
How did he do that? No, that was what? Something else, right?
Was that not the Lotus? I thought it was the one that went in the water.
It might have been, yeah.
But the other connection,
Might have been, yeah.
We don't know. It just, I keep looking for reasons for this to not be set in the 80s or even be set in 2025. Because unless it's just you're playing with the multiverse again, it's like an alternate 80s where different things happened in the era, So I keep wanting to, just like his clothes, think, oh, they're just big fans of these things from that era. That's why they have them. Or maybe it's in the 2080s, although the scenery doesn't call it out. But it's, I bet it's people enjoying some kind of throwback something in whatever this time is set. It's my guess.
All right.
Yeah, I've got a more specific idea, and I have no, this is just me speculating. Yeah, look, we don't even know if these cars are in the film, right? We know they were parked there.
They're conspicuous that they be at the set, both,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
But I do find this as a curious coincidence, let's say. As I mentioned to you, this car here is the first car that I showed you is the 1982 Pontiac Trans Am, which is very much like the one used in Knight Rider. 1982 is the same year that the novel was published.
Oh, okay.
And this is a 1987 Lotus Esprit Turbo, which was the year the film, the first adaptation, came out.
Right.
Is this some kind of Easter egg that they're just an homage to the preceding sources? Maybe I don't know.
Interesting.
Now, John, too much of a stretch?
I think so. And this is a 1992 Ford Festiva. That's the year that Stephen King got a blister on his ass.
No,
this just seems really
these
weird.
Are both connected to Running Man, though.
And Stephen King's not. My point is that it seems like a very, I think it was last week we were talking about the overzealous English teacher looking for meaning where there is none to try to teach imagery. It seems like a reach.
Hey, guys, John, don't pay attention for a second. Everyone else listening, John also believes in Bigfoot. This, however, is a bridge too far. Okay.
This
right,
is
John, come on back,
realm of possibility.
There's a difference between believing in something and not believing it doesn't exist. There's a difference.
I'm going to need that drawn out in a chart of some kind. I need some kind of figure A and figure B. I don't.
Yes.
Okay.
You cannot. That is fine.
I'm going to reach out to Edgar Wright and see if we can't get an answer on this.
You should.
Josh Brolin.
Call your close personal friend, Edgar Wright.
Yes.
Yeah. And Will is choosing to not believe that this can't be true. All of these little Easter things.
That's right.
There were so many negatives in your sentence, Kat.
Kat gets it.
I'm an optimistic person. I try not to be negative, but sometimes it happens.
In addition to Glenn Powell, Josh Brolin, William H. Macy, and Wright's Scott Pilgrim lead Michael Cera also round out the cast. Here's some encouraging news, in addition to the fact that it may be set in the 1980s, I guess. I don't know. That would be weird for lots of reasons. Powell spoke out on his part in the project during a summer interview with IndieWire, gushing, quote, "I'm going to be shooting The Running Man in the fall. We've been going back and forth on script stuff, and it's so fun. We're just both such big fans of the Stephen King book, and it's going to be a great character. I'm so fired up about it," end quote.
Oh.
The reboot hits theaters in about a year, November 2025.
And going to theaters, that's optimistic too. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Instead of going to streaming. I mean, it could change, but the plan for the theater now tells me they have a little more confidence in it. So I like that.
Cool. Do you recommend the 80s movie, the first version?
Oh,
Put it on my list.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fun enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd buy that for $1.
It's like kind of iconic, and yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'll put it on
Mhm.
there.
Have
Actually,
you
it
not
might
seen it?
already be there.
So- yeah. Okay.
So I think like you may recognize things that it's inspired in other areas of
Mhm.
pop culture.
Isn't that weird when you go back and it's like if you first heard Weird Al's Yoda and then later you go back and hear Lola.
Oh.
And so it's different for you. And you're like, oh, here's the thing that inspired that. It's not an exact parallel, but it's
Yeah.
really cool to go back and watch classic movies. And you're like, oh, that's kind of like, oh, that's where they got it.
Yeah.
It's one of those
I
things.
love that. Yeah.
You will pick up on lots of little things that
Okay.
either people were referencing and you didn't know or have used in other films and you didn't recognize because you had no frame of reference.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And your
I
first
like that.
inclination is going to be, that's like this thing. And like, oh, wait, that thing's like this. This was first. Yeah.
It's
That
the
could be
other
neat.
way around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
and actually, just reality TV, reality game shows. What was it? American Gladiators. All these TV shows that followed where people have to, essentially bump each other off,
Mhm.
figuratively,
Yeah.
to win a game.
Okay.
Yeah. I always thought it was wonderful they got Richard Dawson to be the host of the game show because
Right?
he's Richard damn Dawson.
Yeah.
He's just like, we need to cast a Dawson type. Why don't we just get
Yeah.
the guy? And he wasn't an actor, but he only had to act like what he did already in a regular job. So it was
Yeah,
wonderful.
well, in his defense, he did begin as an actor, and there are films he's in prior to
it didn't
Family,
show.
Family Feud, but he spent a lot more time on Family Feud than he did as acting. That's true. And he's definitely good in the role. Yeah. And that's, what a just, if you couldn't get Bob Barker to do that, yeah, right. Playing a dark character,
Yeah.
killing people.
Yeah.
Oh.
He is.
Oh,
Right. He's a
man.
dark version of himself, basically, which is wonderful. Yeah. Good.
It's as if
little
he was kissing the contestants, but he had syphilis. Something like that. That's a metaphor.
Okay, good.
Hey, in other 1980s news, as reported by Entertainment Weekly, Robert Zemeckis may go back to the future again.
Ooh. Ooh.
Well, you'll see. The original Back to the Future was produced for $19 million and grossed $388 million at the box office. So, of course,
Not bad.
Universal greenlit a sequel, giving us 1989's Back to the Future Part 2 and 1990's Back to the Future Part 3. The trilogy was directed by Zemeckis and written, in which he co-wrote with Bob Gale, and both have had steadfast disavowal, or have been steadfast in their disavowal of any further Back to the Future remakes or sequels to film.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, when asked in 2015 if Back to the Future 4 was on the horizon, Zemeckis responded, quote, "That can't happen until both Bob and I are dead. And I'm sure they'll do it unless there's a way our states can stop it."
Whoa.
And there might be, actually. Bob, he probably knows that.
Harsh.
And screenwriter Gale echoed Zemeckis in 2023, explaining, quote, "The characters in Back to the Future are my family, my children. You don't sell your kids into prostitution," end quote.
Wow. Okay.
Well, when confronted by on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, host Josh Horowitz, when Happy, Sad, Confused, I'm happy, sad, and confused right now. What am I reading?
That's this
sad.
show.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah, it's the three of us.
Is it one of each? Is
No,
this
gotta
like
be
playing
sad, I guess.
FMK? All right. Cat's happy.
Mhm.
I'll be sad. Will can be
Okay.
confused.
All right.
Perfect. Okay.
When Happy, Sad, Confused podcast host Josh Horowitz recently asked the director if Universal begs him every couple years for another Back to the Future, Zemeckis joked, quote, "Oh, every 6 months," end quote. He went on to clarify that it was just an exaggeration. He did confirm that the studio frequently asked for more future. Quote, "Isn't there anything we can figure out to do here?" he said, imitating the studio. Well, the good news for fans of the films is that Zemeckis continues to be steadfast in his stance against a sequel or reboot, but there may be hope for those wanting to see something more. Back to the Future, the musical, which with a book written by Gale, debuted in Manchester and is now on Broadway. Kat and I saw it last summer together.
Yes, that was awesome. Yes.
I saw it on tour again, right? This
Did
summer,
you?
I think it was. Yeah, or this, yeah.
Right. I remember you talking. Yeah. That's so
And
cool.
it's fantastic. It was nominated for 2 Tony awards. And when asked by Horowitz whether Zemeckis would like to explore another genre, Zemeckis said, quote, "I would like to do Back to the Future, the musical, just like Mel Brooks did with the producers. I would love that. I think it would be great." I don't know. I feel like you're still remaking Back to the Future, Bob. What are you talking about, dude? You're gonna have another Marty or another Marty, another Doc, another Jennifer.
But there's no no one's breaking out in song in the first movie, right? Except for at the prom. So
still a remake, though.
Yeah. But it's I would be interested in this.
Would you?
To see it? Yeah.
I think I'm with Will. I don't think I need if they did like Hamilton, like just shoot the stage presentation so I can see it.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. I don't need it to be reimagined for cinema and turned into, like the producers or now Wicked or whatever they're doing, turning it into a movie of the musical kind of thing. I don't need that.
Right.
But I guess I need to wait for them to die because I think there are good ways to continue the franchise without sullying it. Have you thought about it?
You need a way for them to
die. I feel like we've talked about this before. Oh, you know what? No, I talked to someone else about this actually.
Oh, really?
I can't remember who.
Well, in my imagination, if I was in the writer's room, I would do nothing to damage the original trilogy, not remake it, not continue it.
Right.
I just want to see more in that universe. Okay, time travel exists. We know how it works. And so now it becomes an industry, right? So you have like Gigawatt Industries or something, or Doc Brown Industries or something, and he's passed away or he's gone or whatever. Maybe he's the CEO, he has a cameo. But this is now a technology and a business, and it could become a Back to the Future ongoing anthology where they do different things with this technology, but it's a company now. It's not just, a knucklehead and his underage buddy, out in the parking lot doing it. It's a technology that's proven, and they can leap around and do things and maybe occasionally brush up against the films or reference to them, or maybe there's a touchstone there in the town you have to go through, and maybe there's a vortex. I don't know. I think you can connect it without continuing it.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
I do remember a friend. Now I remember who it was. My buddy Ben. I think it was my buddy Ben who said, he said just as a sort of an exercise, he would like to imagine what a Back to the Future could be, another sequel. And he had an idea, and some of it, I think this is what he said. It would be a series, and it would follow Doc Brown's kids. They're adults now. What were their names? Like H.G. and Wells or something. It was something clever like that. Phineas and Fogg or something like that. I don't remember.
Both authors, or maybe they were both H.G. Wells characters. Yeah, anyway,
that it would follow them. And their adventures. And I thought, and then he said, hey, if you just jokingly, like, if you think of any ideas how we could, So I did spend some time thinking about it, and I thought, okay, look, and some of them I'm borrowing probably from Quantum Leap, and some of the stuff is tropey, but you have it start off where one of the kids is missing in time, and the other one has to find them in time, but it turns out that they're actually at odds. Like one of them is actually, the antagonist, at least at first. In the first few series episodes until the story starts to unravel, or not ravel, but to, solidify, I guess, or gel, working towards a, common whatever enemy by the end of the show. So I guess I agree in that sense, John. If you're extending it and you're trying to squeeze Michael J. Fox in there, or Christopher Lloyd's actually up for a sequel. I mean, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
If I did it, or I would say there's something they did in the original trilogy that caused a problem, created a paradox, and that's the ripple that they're trying to fix. Maybe they're not adventuring. Maybe they're fixing little fissures in time space that were created by these two guys that didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's The only other idea I have, and you know how much I hate AI is, but to avoid the problems with the remake is, of course, here's one thing. So sadly, Zemeckis said that there's no future for the project. For folks who want to see a musical adaptation, the musical adaptation put on film, Zemeckis said there's no future because Universal, as he says, doesn't understand the allure of it. And he said, quote,
It's okay.
and he said, quote, there's nothing I can do, end quote. So he tried. They said, what? Why? And so it's not happening. But I think part for them is musicals are not that popular in movie theaters. And the expense of producing a musical is probably high relative to just a regular straight film. And then you also are making a Back to the Future movie. So you still got the special effects and all that to add on. Very costly movie. Here's what I suggest. Robert Zemeckis, Forrest Gump, Here, Polar Express, all these, for him at the time were groundbreaking technologically. Let's take the old movie and we're using AI. Let's add the musical numbers in using doubles. And then putting Michael J. Fox's face and Christopher Lloyd's face.
Weird.
Different scenes.
What?
If it can be seamless. I don't like AI generally, but there you go.
But you'd like it in this situation.
Will is a modern day Ted Turner. Instead of colorizing, he's AIizing old films. We're making them better. If they could have had musicals, they would have. But these days, we're retrofacting them, adding them in.
Thanks, Lucas. Thank you, George. If you could do it seamlessly, it would be pretty cool, right? I always got a kick out of Back to the Future 2, revisiting Back to the Future 1. Remember, there was 2 Martys at times. Some of those scenes where he had to avoid himself, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah. See, those are some of the problems they have to fix in the new series that I'm making.
Yeah. Yes. I do think John and I, we talk about this because we're both fans of time travel. I think there's aspects, there's consequences, there's repercussions of time travel that haven't really been considered in fiction in a way that would be fun and some of it's kind of dark, but that would be fun to explore.
I want to see all of these. I want the musical. I want the series. I want the AI. I want the.
You went with the AI refit.
I'm on board with all of it. Yeah. It sounds entertaining, no matter what.
Well, then I have bad news for you.
You're not going to see any of it.
No, I'm the sad one. No,
you saw the musical. End of list.
Will's still confused.
You're with Marcus because he says, I'd like to see a reboot of a bunch of stuff, including this. A remake doesn't break the old one. Just give the chance to see it a different way if you want. Everyone else needing it or not. It is already done. It isn't damaged. Yeah, I don't. It doesn't bother me that they had the Ghostbusters with the ladies. I'm not one of those guys like you ruined my child. No, right, I still have that.
Yeah.
And there's sequels to movies that I do feel like ruin the legacy of the original. Matrix 2 and 3 are shit. Matrix 1 is really tight and great. So I have to pretend like they don't exist. So it goes, there's lots of different ways to
the third or fourth, whatever, the Resurrections one.
Oh gosh,
I have to double ignore that one.
I forgot. Yes, I forgot I saw that. Yeah. But yes, I don't think that in that sense a remake replaces it. It's just, it's a question of whether we need it and why. I think more for me.
Brandon suggesting just bring Eric Stoltz back and give him another go at it.
Yes. And let's make the dark version that he wanted to make, that he thought he was making.
Oh,
right. My gosh. He's a Marty variant. Oh, yes. Marvel would be so proud of us.
Which is what he thought, right? Remember, because he said, look, if I come back to 1985, isn't there a me here already? Or, and also, I don't have this guy's memories, so I'm just plopped into this life that I didn't lead.
Yeah.
With these people. Like, these people are strangers to me. This is a nightmare. And they're like, you know what? Can I talk to you over here for a second, Eric? He was out. All right. Hey, another 1980s news and another Bob Zemeckis news.
He's still confused.
Yes, I'm happy still, though. Also, so that's good.
Also happy.
As reported by Variety, Jessica Rabbit is too hot for Disney.
But she's just
yes, her butt. Yes, her butt.
It's not her fault.
It's not her fault.
Oh, yes.
She's just drawn that way.
What it says? Mike says in the Flash film on the revised Earth, Stoltz was martyred. Oh yeah, Martied with Marty. Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They did mention it. Yeah, that's right.
That was awesome. That was a great little Easter egg.
Oh.
All right. So
Cool.
Jessica Rabbit's too hot for Disney. Cat says something about her butt. Let's just move on. I don't know where Cat's
I
going.
was
While
not
going through
talking about
his
anybody's
many
butt.
box office hits on the Happy Sad podcast, Zemeckis confirmed that a sequel, talking about another sequel of his, that there is a script for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, another of his blockbusters from the 1980s. However, per Zemeckis, much like a Back to the Future, the musical adaptation, it's unlikely to get made, but for a very different reason. Zemeckis says Jessica Rabbit is too sexy for the current Disney regime. A reminder of what Jessica Rabbit looks like.
Remind away.
On the screen.
Yeah, John is looking forward to this reminder.
If I press this, hey, that'll be good.
John's happy now.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
There she is.
There's your gal. So Jessica Rabbit, there you go.
Yep.
And Zemeckis explained this unfortunate truth persists, even though the sequel script is good. Quote, I mean, look what they did to Jessica at the theme park, Zemeckis says. They dressed her up in a trench coat, end quote.
Oh.
Not always, but they did do that in the ride. That's true. Yeah. Okay. They retrofitted her, put her in a detective's trench coat.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I just imagine that's all she's wearing. So it still works for me.
John, I had that thought too. So instead of having her look in that red sequin dress, they made her like a 1920s flasher.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Any second now.
Yeah.
Any second.
So what John's talking about is apparently the Disneyland attraction, Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin went through changes in 2021 as a part of a larger cleanup effort by the Disney parks to address racially insensitive and other offensive material from attractions. Now, as soon as I heard that this was, I didn't know about this right till I read this article, that Jessica Rabbit had to be put in a trench coat in the Roger Rabbit cartoon spin ride, I immediately thought of this moment from the film, one of the most paused moments in history.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Where she is in a car, she's in Benny the Cab, she's tossed from it and then she spins. I wonder if this is already kind of a, sort of an adult nod or a nod to the adults to get them on this attraction. I don't know. Maybe that's like my theories about Running Man. So what happened was for this ride is Jessica originally was dressed in a film accurate attire.
Okay.
But on the ride she appears in the in the trunk of a car.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah.
All right.
What's wrong with that? I see nothing wrong here.
Yeah, I don't either. Obviously, in the story, I'm guessing she was kidnapped by the weasels, and I guess probably Roger's got to save her. That's probably the story. And the dress, among any of these things, the dress is the least problematic, right? It's that she's tied up in the back of a trunk of a car, which would be disturbing under any circumstances, especially a children's ride.
So Disney goes, hey, everybody, let's get a trench coat on her. All right, now tie her back up.
Right, put her in the trunk.
In fact, can we get a muzzle on her? That'd be good too. She's kidnapped. It's great. No problem with that part.
Yeah. No, what they did was a more reaching change. They got her out of the trunk entirely, put a trench coat on her, and they made her the protagonist of the ride. So now she is a detective who is, going on this whatever adventure, whatever story is told by the ride. You'll notice that now she's alongside the weasel for some reason, looking in an empty trunk. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Huh.
Now, at the time this change was made, the folks over at Mice Chat questioned the switch, suggesting that it's not believable that Jessica would trade her fabled acting career for a gig as a private detective.
Right.
Yeah.
According to Mice Chat, for Disney, quote, for Disney, the change has two real goals: covering up Jessica's large chest and removing her from the trunk of a car, end quote.
Well, the removal from the trunk of the car, that's good. I think that was a good move.
Yeah, although as John points out, I don't know, he's still kind of, look, guys are creeps. Or anybody who's attracted to a woman. I don't know. I don't know if women are attracted to women are as creepy as men. That might just be a uniquely DNA male specific thing.
Might be.
I don't know.
But
it doesn't matter if you have clothes on or what clothes you have on. And this, this is right. She's dressed like Dick Tracy. You get a different kind of imagination or fantasy, I guess, about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go log into OnlyTunes.
Yes.
There we go.
Well, yeah.
Jessica. There we go. Subscribe. No problem.
Well,
Disney, do what you want. I'm set.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting you say that because, Zemeckis talked about, how it was a Disney movie originally, right?
Yes.
So how did he get, all right, John, stop.
John,
This is one of,
we're losing him. We're
This
losing
is
him.
one of the stories, yeah. He's going to be distracted on.
He's zoning.
I'm listening.
Oh.
I'm listening.
Just get worried if the phone goes down and you still can't see his hands.
We don't want you to get too happy.
Okay, your hands up. On the Happy Sad podcast. I don't want you to be too happy. I want you to be happy to a conclusion. But so yeah, when you think about the first original film was Disney. So how was it greenlit at that time? Well, Zemeckis says, quote,
Yeah.
"We were there when a new regime came in and they were full of energy," end quote. Yeah, Disney wasn't the giant it is today. Hard to say, but it's since acquired so many different IPs and other companies. But that's only because of some changes that were made after Roger the Rabbit that allowed them to have such financial success.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they were desperate, but they were open to ideas because they needed to regain relevance, I suppose.
And we should just take an aside. There's nothing pornographic or of adult nature about Jessica Rabbit. She's just wearing clothes appropriate. She's a nightclub singer.
Mm-hmm.
She's a voluptuous actress. That's what she wore. And she came right out of the nightclub in it, right? It's not like she doesn't wear it around the house. It's appropriate for what her character was doing. Yes. And it's not like at any point she flashes anybody, as we were alluding.
Yeah.
I think Disney back then, it was less uptight. There was less concern about insult. Just like everything in the world, people get a little more concerned about who they might offend or insult. Even if there is no offense or insult intended, it still counts as a ding against you. So
yeah. She's not wearing anything that kids today haven't seen it already and haven't seen their favorite singer wear. I feel
nowadays, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They've already seen it. They've already seen it.
Yep.
I'm not saying that there's not some stuff on YouTube that, kids shouldn't be watching, but no, I really don't feel like there's anything going on with Jessica Rabbit that needs censoring.
Yeah. And Zemeckis explained that when he made the film, he made it as he believed Walt Disney would. He pointed out that when Disney made films, he didn't talk down to children. He made the movies for adults to enjoy. And so it seems like it is flipped around. It's like adults enjoy it, sure, but now adults are the ones that are thinking, I think I got a sexy thought here. So I don't want kids to be exposed to my secret thoughts.
Right.
These children who haven't hit puberty yet. I mean, that's so bizarre to me.
Executives are kind of telling on themselves, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right. It's going to go over their heads. I mean, I saw it as a teenager and I loved it. And I wasn't like, oh no, she looks inappropriate. Or
I just thought it was funny that a rabbit was married to a human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the fun. I didn't watch it and go, oh my goodness, I can't watch any more of this movie. I'm obsessed with this character. No, it was just a lady. Yeah. And the funny thing was that the goofy, absolutely slapstick rabbit was the husband, that was the funny part. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. It's a
goofy.
great movie. Yeah. Yeah. As soon as he's thinking about how he never made movies for children. He made them instead for adults. Of course, I was thinking that there's plenty of sexy adult cosplayers, XXX movie parodies, and one adult film star named Jessica Rabbit that pay homage to the film. Yeah, John. He acts as if he doesn't know.
Nope.
That's not what was on his phone just a moment ago.
Ooh,
Yeah. Okay, do it later.
There goes the phone.
I was just
checking again.
I was just having this conversation with my kid, who's a teenager. She's a young teenager, but we were listening to. I just turned her on to Rocky Horror, which might be one of those movies that other adults think, "Don't you can't expose your children." Seriously, calm down.
Right.
But in the Time Warp, there's a line where they say, bring your knees in tight.
Yes.
Right. But it's the pelvic thrust.
Yes.
That really drives you insane. And then I remember earlier, many years ago, like 10 years ago, when my oldest, who's an adult off on her own now, was a kid, and we would have Halloween parties for her and her friends at the school. We'd had to play the Kids Bop version because the Kids Bop version of Time Warp doesn't say pelvic thrust. They say something about, and then you start to shake, and it drives you crazy.
Okay.
And I said to my kid, we were both lamenting about this because it's like, kids wouldn't understand even the innuendo of a pelvic thrust or why that would be something other than a dance move. So
Right.
who are we changing
Right.
it for?
You're making it dirty because you're
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I just
here's the thing about that. Go ahead, Kat. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it would be akin to twerking, I guess. The pelvic thrust would be that's a thing
Which is
that
a dance. Yeah.
kids know about, and
Mhm.
they do it. Yes.
Not a secret. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
The thing is that people say, oh, you can't expose your kids to that. The problem they're making is you need to expose your kids to that eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will eventually be exposed to all the things that you're protecting them from.
Mhm.
Would it not be better to introduce them to these things in the context of other entertainment and media and then talk about it instead of just act like it doesn't exist until they get
Right.
on their own and go, oh my goodness, this is the world?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the kind of pussyfooting around and tiptoeing that absolutely leads to people being stunned when they go on their own because they're shielded and sheltered from everything that could possibly be suggestive or offensive or controversial. And then they find out and go, I thought that stuff didn't exist. And I was growing up, there's no such thing. You should absolutely introduce those things to your kids as they get older, gradually, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever. That's parenting.
Yes.
Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were always direct with our kids about the stuff they should know around the time they should know it, or, when we felt appropriate, because we didn't want some kid filling their head with the wrong information either.
Right.
They're gonna, someone's gonna tell them. Would you rather it be some rando? Yeah.
Yes. Or you. Yes.
Brandon says, I was 8 when Roger Rabbit came out and had a cartoon crush on Jessica. Not sure if that's weird or not. No, it's not weird.
No, I don't think so.
That's ridiculous.
John, put the phone down, please.
Oh, sorry.
I've talked many times about my love of Daphne, and I didn't understand why. I just was attracted to Daphne. It's bizarre, right? I mean, it's just like John would say, our monkey brains, just, I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm a Velma guy all the way.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I get that too. Chad says, how about a crossover between Roger Rabbit and Cool World? Yeah. That would seem like it just dovetails perfectly, right? And Nick says, I think the Disney leadership is a reflection of the times. Younger millennials and Gen Z want more PC content. I don't hate on wokeness, but I think the younger generations want that. I think is what that's supposed to say.
Kat's either frozen or very consistently happy.
She is the happy on the happy set. Wait, I got to take a screenshot of this. All right, there we go. I'll share that with her later. And Nick says, except when they don't, like WAP, for instance. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Whatever. Okay. Moving on. We lost Kat again mid-show. So it'd be curious to know if we lose her at this time every time. Like, is something happening at her house? Someone's using the bathroom, they flush the toilet. Somehow it's connected to the Wi-Fi, and I don't know.
Marcus said maybe she traded internet providers with you. It wasn't his internet provider.
Right.
Or maybe she just had enough. She was offended that we were
What I think is interesting
censoring
is,
Jessica Rabbit, decided to go.
I mean, do we think Kat right now is just scrambling to get back on?
That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm almost
So
certain.
she knows she's not on.
Certainly. Without a doubt.
Last time we continued, and then she joined not knowing what we were talking about for some, or she said she did text us here. I think I'm having an internet problem. She jinxed herself because she was making fun of me earlier. All right, I guess we continue.
Got what you
We'll
paid for.
continue and we'll add her voice in. Oh, I never did add those things Marcus sent me. Let's see, did I do that?
Adjust some sounds.
It doesn't look like I put it on here. Poop. I used to have her yeses and her laughing. All right, here we go. In other 1980s news, per space.com, I gotta say .com, just to make sure it's clear that unlike Voyager 1 or NASA, I'm not receiving signals. Here she is.
Ta-da!
Hey,
Ta-da!
what happened?
She made it back.
I have no idea. I had to do an internet diagnostic and it fixed
Like it
it.
popped up for you to do that?
Yeah. The little dinosaur came on, and
I don't know what that is.
It's a chrome dinosaur.
Well, are you running on fossil fuels? That might be the problem. Is your gas powered computer?
Needs new plugs and points. We'll get fixed.
Yeah. You take a wire brush and you could. All right, look. Is that what happened last time? You got the.
Last time was completely different. It shut down Audacity,
Oh, that's weird.
and yeah, this time I kept checking. Audacity was just running steadily. So I'm just I should be synced up with you guys already.
You're still here. Okay.
You'll just hear me go, I have no idea what's going on.
All right, cool. All right, let me do the next story here.
Oh, you waited for me?
Yeah, we stalled as long as we could.
Oh.
Okay, hey.
Now, in full disclosure, he kind of started without you just as you came back, so he started again.
Like, well, I guess
he was maybe 10 seconds in. So I just got a full disclosure.
Thank you, John, for your honesty.
That's good.
I guess in full disclosure. Oh crap! I can't do it.
But what?
I'm using Edge now, and now it's asking me for stuff.
Oh.
Technology is challenging his ability to insult us. Here it comes. He's working on it, though.
Oh, here it is. Oh, I see. It doesn't show up as the picture, though. Oh, there we go. Oh, for crying out loud. Never mind. Now that I'm in a new browser, it doesn't have my permissions to share my screen. I was going to share. I took a screenshot of you frozen because John was like, either Kat's really happy or she's.
Oh no! What did I look like?
On the happy, you just. I'll send you. Anyway, okay. Hey, in other 1980s news.
Oh no.
Per space.com, and I add the .com so you know I'm not receiving signals from outer space. It's just a joke I made before that didn't really land anywhere. So, Voyager 1 spacecraft phones home 1980s style.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not a speak and spell, but it might as well have been.
Awesome.
So Voyager 1, which launched in 1977, so it's a few years younger than all of us here, ventured into interstellar space in 2012, becoming the first spacecraft to cross the boundary of our solar system.
That's crazy.
Look, I feel like to believe that this now this is going to make me sound crazy if I haven't already. The to believe in this is to believe in cryptids. I mean, in a sense, right? I mean, it sounds you might as well believe in Bigfoot's here.
Well, there you go.
Communicating with shit that's billions of miles away. Okay.
As crazy as that sounds,
right?
And yet, a big, tall, fuzzy thing in the woods is somehow incredulous.
Yeah, that sounds more believable. All right. All right. So now it's okay. So it's time in deep space has taken a toll on its instruments and caused an increasing number of technical issues. Of course, I'm thinking, look, this thing was born in 1977. I feel you, Voyager. I feel you, bud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Our batteries are getting low too, pal.
and there's nothing they can do.
There's some things are draining too much from other areas. Yes.
Earlier this year, the team had to fix a separate communications glitch that was causing the spacecraft to transmit gibberish.
Oh.
I've got a clip of the gibberish here. I can't make heads or tails of this.
Oh, no.
It's just gibberish.
Oh, no.
Garbage. It's garbage. I can't understand why they didn't just delete this.
Ready.
Here we go.
I don't know what that's all about.
It was not Duran Duran.
I don't know what that was.
It was my turn to get digged on.
It was your turn.
All right, so you understood.
Dig away.
While the spacecraft's advanced age and distance from the Earth can make maintenance challenging, Voyager 1 continues to return vital data from beyond the solar system.
Wow.
Much like a Gen Xer, however, it turns out the craft will rely on its old school skills when it's in a jam. On October 16th, NASA's Deep Space Network, DSN, which is a global array of giant antennas. This is just...
Isn't that amazing?
Anyway,
Will's confused again.
This global array of giant antennas sent... I'm becoming a flat earther, I think. Other things are seeming more believable than...
It's just science.
Right,
it's
so
great.
So the DSN sends a message to the spacecraft instructing it to turn on one of its heaters. Which is kind of like what happens with me and my wife when we're in bed at night and she starts getting cold.
Mm-hmm.
We turn the heat on. Now I've got an app for it, so it's much like the NASA thing. The
Right.
team,
And Will starts talking gibberish, and she's like, "Just turn on the heater."
yeah, and you know this. I just made that story up because I'm the one who's freezing all the time.
My heaters are haywire.
So just like your internet.
Sorry about that.
It may be connected. The team expected to receive data back from the spacecraft within a couple of days. It normally takes about 23 hours for a command to travel more than 15 billion miles.
Holy shit. Isn't that amazing? So think of the last time your computer was being weird. And what if you hit
Now?
Control-Alt-Delete and had to wait 23 hours to see if it worked? And if it didn't, well, then you hit, let's try Alt F4. Let's wait 23 hours and see if that works. Can you imagine troubleshooting a device billions of miles away that takes a day? And by the way, it's 2 days, right? It's 23 hours to get there.
Wait.
And then 23 hours to find out if it worked.
Right.
It's like you log in on Friday evening and come back Monday morning and see if you're there. It's insane. And it's radio waves. They're traveling like that.
Yeah.
But they're going so damn far.
I mean, look, this is Matrix shit. This is when I start feeling solipsistic, as if I'm the only person existing in this world. Like, this is just a bunch of, everything else is insanity that I've concocted. How? Look, I'm not a scientist. So maybe this is one of those things like we talked about where magic, seems like science seems like magic if you don't, if you're not, if you're not very bright. If I send out a radio wave, how the hell is the thing 15 billion miles getting that signal? When there's a street I drive on when I go to Target that my cell phone drops for like a quarter mile and I can see the tower. It just makes no sense. All right. As Joanne pointed out, though, they had to wait, essentially 2 days for them to hear back from the Voyager. And so on October 18th, 2 days later, the team was unable to detect Voyager's signal on the X-band frequency that the DSN antennas were listening for. Turns out this was because to use less power, the spacecraft's fault protection system switched to its S-band radio transmitter, which prior to that date hadn't been used since 1981.
Wow.
Now, okay. Now, given that the spacecraft is located much farther away in interstellar space than it was 43 years ago, the DSN responded in kind with a message on the S-band transmitter, and 2 days later, the team was finally able to reconnect with Voyager 1.
Wow.
Okay, here's the genius thing about one of the many genius things. Today, if I go to Target and buy a toaster, by the time I get home, it needs a firmware update. Okay? This thing was launched decades ago, and it was programmed smart enough to be able to troubleshoot it and diagnose its own communication issues and change bands to troubleshoot it. Now, granted, you could send messages in the interim and do some reprogramming, but it had to be built with the ability to do even that.
Yeah.
And you can't just what if you flash its firmware and it doesn't work? You can't just grab it and, stick a pin in the button to reset it. It's millions and billions of miles away. It was engineered so well when it was launched that it can do its own troubleshooting and diagnostics autonomously and send us a message. I love the space program. It's amazing. They're so smart.
And the S-Wave thing is 43 years since it was used.
Yeah.
43 years.
And it still works.
And it
the
works.
transmitter that hasn't been used in decades is still working.
Yeah.
After being flown through space debris at bajillions of miles per hour, it still works fine. Yeah, turn it on.
This is a trope out of dystopian movies, right? Where they're like, everything's down. Cell towers are down. Oh, shit, I still have walkie-talkies from high school. Let's see if we can get or the CB. We have this dad's CBs in the basement still. Or
That still works.
Yeah.
I love it.
And the other thing
Don't make them like they used to.
The other thing to your point about being this 43-year-old technology that's still working well is based on how it was programmed, it switched, it changed bands to conserve energy. It's just like every Star Trek incarnation has at least one episode where the spacecraft, where they turn off non-essential systems to conserve power. That's what it did.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. And as miraculous as that is, it also means that someone in the 70s programmed it to know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Anticipated.
Someone was smart enough to think, well, something could happen. Let's write in a subroutine to try to conserve power. And they're just so smart.
Yeah. Yeah, scientists. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Now the team will investigate what may have triggered the spacecraft's fault protection system. It may be weeks, however, before operators identify the underlying issue.
There's that. Well, let's send something out.
Yeah.
See when it comes back.
And wait. Yeah, and wait.
In a couple days.
Wait. Hey, finally, in 1980s news, as reported by Time, alien abductee. Oh, let me see what anybody say. Oh, damn. Oh, Brandon said, "Oh, damn, Will is as cold as ice." I picked it up from Voyager. I don't know what you're talking about. See, Joe has given us some 80s news here to report.
Oh.
Joe says, here's some 80s news. The band Slayer has announced 2 reunion shows in 2025. Slayer were polarizing in the 80s and 90s. By today's standards, not so much. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
See them while you can. Yeah.
They're barely metal anymore. Let alone heavy metal.
Right. Now it's middle of the road, right? Yacht rock. And finally, in 1980s news, as reported by Time, alien abductee sues Netflix. So it turns out Netflix has got a new documentary, John. It's called The Manhattan Alien Abduction. It explores whether
he looked
we
like
are
he already
alone.
Knew that.
Oh, he really knows the story. There's been other documentaries he's seen about the story. He's read the book.
I just started watching the documentary the other day. Yeah.
Oh.
That's right. As reported by Time, John sues Netflix. That's eventually it was going to be that story when John finally gets abducted. All right, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Where are we? Okay.
I should be so lucky.
And, now I picture they have like T-shirts and stuff like I got married, or I'm a groom. I'm the John's gonna have I was finally probed, and he's in that day and goes out. He goes out wearing a diaper, limping.
For the record, that won't be the headline. Just the abduction is the headline. The details you don't put on the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you go to Disney, you don't get a T-shirt that says, I rode the river cruise. It's, I went to Disney. The river cruise, I'll tell you about later. So the probing, I'll just tell you once you ask me about the shirt. Otherwise, it's not going to be, it's not on the shirt.
That's for those who are committed, who want to learn more.
Ask me about my alien abduction.
Ask me about my anal probe.
Yeah. Right.
That's the hat. That's the hat you wear.
That's the hat.
Yes.
Right. And then it's going to have to, on that hat, it's going to have a series of numbers that people can take to ask questions because you're going to be busy. All right. So Netflix's new documentary, The Manhattan Alien Abduction, explores whether we are alone in the universe. And although it ultimately seems to err on the side of skepticism, the real controversy may be happening behind the scenes. The 3-part series, helmed by Vivian Perry and Daniel Vernon, investigates the alleged abduction of Linda Napolitano, a New York City housewife who claimed that in the early morning hours of November 30th, 1989, 3 extraterrestrial beings kidnapped her from her 12th floor downtown apartment, beamed her through the sky to their spaceship, and performed experiments on her before returning her to her bedroom. Now, the first thing is, I bet on their planet, there's a joke about how many aliens does it take to abduct a woman from her 12th story bedroom.
Right.
12th floor.
Yes.
It takes 3. 1 to snorgelax, 1 to enable the wiffle gong, and the third one has to manage them.
He had that ready.
No, I've heard that one before.
Oh, you have? I set him up because I knew you knew it.
Okay.
The case was previously documented from an apparent believer's standpoint in the 1997 book Witnessed, The True Story of the Brooklyn Bridge Abduction, by the late author Bud Hopkins, who plays a pivotal role in this controversy. Hopkins was a prominent ufologist and YouTuber who had a close relationship with Napolitano prior to his death in 2011. However, the purported evidence put forth and witnessed in support of Napolitano's claims is contested in the new docuseries by Hopkins, who is the late ex-wife. By Hopkins' late ex-wife, Carol Rainey.
Mm-hmm.
Rainey gave her own side of the story to Netflix before she died in 2023. Rainey claims that the whole thing was an elaborate hoax.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just started it. There are a half dozen witnesses who saw the woman floating across the sky, and they thought it was a stunt. They thought it was a drone. They thought it was not a drone. Whatever, there weren't drones back then, but they just thought it was a gag because here they're in Manhattan. People doing crazy stuff all the time in Manhattan. Some advertising gimmick or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I haven't watched all of it enough to yet know on which side I fall, but I'm starting to get the beginnings of this story, and it's pretty compelling. I didn't know this particular story. I'd heard of it, but never read anything about it. So it's fascinating. Yeah.
All right, so you're learning.
Brandon says that John isn't going to be happy until he has a satellite sticking out of his butt like that South Park episode.
There are other ways to make me happy.
Marcus says, I now know what John's getting for Christmas.
It's going to be the hat, I think.
Yes.
Ask me about my probe.
Yeah. Well, John, and look, I don't mean to spoil anything from the documentary for you, but
go ahead. Yeah.
With regard to these witnesses, where did I go here? You're right. Okay, blah blah blah.
I love when he says blah blah blah.
Yes. So, John, I don't mean to spoil anything for you with regard to the documentary, but
sorry.
You're right. The crux of the case of Napolitano's abduction claims rest on the assertion that 23 people allegedly came forward saying they had witnessed her floating through Manhattan sky.
Wow. 23.
However, turns out that none of the witnesses' identities have ever been verified, and there's no concrete evidence that the two men who provided the most compelling testimonies, alleged security officers named Richard and Dan, who were supposedly parked in a nearby car guarding the then UN Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar, even existed, as they communicated with Hopkins exclusively through letters. In the documentary, Rainey called Napolitano's accounts of these men into question, arguing that Napolitano wrote them herself. Rainey worked with a forensics expert to prove that the handwriting between the letters from her and from the men were, quote, virtually identical.
Okay.
Right. And to your earlier point, so you find this hard to believe, but you can imagine that a piece of space junk the size of a Volkswagen over 1 billion miles away can communicate with us here on Earth. No sweat.
I realize what it is really, John, is I don't believe any of it.
Oh, okay. None of it.
That's why I'm saying, like, I'm becoming a flat earther, I realize. I'm not gonna that's dumb. That's dumb. I'm a believer a moon landing was faked, that kind of thing.
Oh.
All these things that seem technologically like there's a gap that we can't imagine to be filled.
Yeah.
We know he filled the gap.
Oh,
yes.
Alien technology from Hangar 18 in Nevada.
Oh,
yeah,
you know what you thought he was going to say, Cat, right?
Yes, I know.
No.
That's where my mind went.
I mean, it made sense. You know how to fill a gap.
Cat.
Alien technology.
Cat.
I know, it was Cat.
How could you?
Probing.
And then this former Secretary General, what's his name, Cuellar, later provided a statement to PBS, which he refuted. Oh, okay, so here's part of the story is she says she was abducted with somebody else. Now, at the time, I think it maybe even in the documentary, she doesn't say who it is, but maybe Rainey says this, or through the triangulating all the different things that have come out, it's believed to have been this then UN Secretary General, that he was abducted with her, and the two guards that were guarding him on the street in their car, they saw them floating through the sky. Now, they asked this guy years ago, were you abducted by aliens? And he said, quote, I cannot but strongly deny the claim that I have had an abduction experience at any time, quote.
That's a very structured denial, isn't it?
It's like Cat earlier. I cannot but strongly deny. All right, hang on.
There were too many negatives. Yes. I cannot deny that I wasn't abducted.
Yeah.
On the advice of my counsel, I can neither confirm nor deny
Yes.
my vehement assertions that I have or have not at some point been or not been abducted by what may or may not be aliens.
And some of Rainey's
government speak for you.
So Rainey, in addition to being married to Hoskins, did a lot of the film, documenting, I guess, of Napolitano back in the day. And some of the footage that she includes in this series shows that the alleged witnesses' descriptions of what they supposedly saw that night greatly varied in nature, with one woman claiming she had simply seen a bright light through the curtains.
Okay.
Rainey goes on to criticize her late then husband Hopkins for failing to heed discrediting elements of the case. Quote, Bud cherry-picked compelling details, but ignored anything that presented difficult questions, end quote. While the documentary leaves it up to viewers to decide what they believe, Napolitano has made it clear that she doesn't approve of her portrayal in the series. Just 2 days before its October 30th premiere, she sued Netflix in an attempt to halt the project's release. According to her, they aired it. According to her complaint, which was filed in the New York State Supreme Court, the documentary defames Napolitano and paints her in an unflattering light, while allowing Rainey to play a prominent part in the story as a, quote, expert skeptic in the field, end quote, when she was instead a, quote, embittered alcoholic ex-wife hell-bent on revenge against her husband, end quote.
Whoa. Okay.
The lawsuit claims that the doc was Rainey's, quote, last dying act of retribution to get even with her ex-husband.
Wow. There's always a backstory.
Yeah. Well, all those things can be true, and the story could still be true, because the problem with all things is that they happen to humans who are flawed and imperfect and have their foibles. And they could be bad people who tell lies, and doesn't mean it didn't happen. Maybe it didn't. Again, I don't have the evidence. I've not watched it yet, but it's almost as if in order to be believed, you've heard the reports, right? It's like, well, why do aliens always abduct, hillbillies and rednecks and people of low IQ? With the assumption is that, well, those people are dumb and that's why they believe it. And then if somebody, like we talked about the Rendlesham incident a few weeks ago,
yes,
people take that more seriously because, oh, well, why do these people need to lie? Oh, they're authorities. They have a reason. Again, take the thing you don't believe out of it. It doesn't have to be aliens. If something's happening to someone and you believe it's because of, believe them or not, based on their personality doesn't impact whether or not it happened to them. They could be both weird, lying, deceitful people and could have had this traumatic thing happen too. But we tend to go, oh, well, if they're weirdos and they're liars, they're lying about everything. You paint with one brush, and it's more granular than that usually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw a quote from Hopkins, the author of the book that they're talking about, saying it was true for Linda. So to your point,
there you
John,
go.
that,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which I try to think that. Look, it doesn't matter to me. I guess if we talked about this, someone's trying to defraud somebody based on some bullshit they made up. All right, that's a problem. Writing a book about it, I don't even know if that would be considered, trying to. I don't know. Maybe it would, because the Amityville Horror and those two knuckleheads, the two conjuring people.
Right. Well, then you're ascribing motivation to the author. If their motivation was to defraud for profit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yes.
Right. What if they actually believe it? Should they not be allowed to profit from it because you don't believe it?
Right. That's right. You're right. I'm drawing a distinction between Ed and Lorraine, who's the supposed folks that what the hell?
Yeah. Oh.
One of my soundproof wall things is moving on its own here. Like there's something behind it, or a ghost.
So he talks about Ed and Lorraine Warren, and suddenly there's a poltergeist in his studio.
You can see this. It's really creepy. I think it's a cat reaching from under the door and grabbing it.
You hope.
Yes. I do. Yeah, yes, that's true. All right. Anyway, so but we know Ed and Lorraine Warren. This has been proved. I'm not making this up. They made this shit up to make money. They do. It's documented them telling the authors, "Look, don't just make up whatever you want. We know how to sell books." You're right, John. So that's different. And I don't think that's cool. All right. Anyway, there you go. Hey, look. Whether you believe this show or not, it existed. It exists.
It was.
It happened.
Yeah.
But that's the end of it.
Oh, whoops. I was so caught up in that. Well,
She was just absolutely racked with attention. Paying.
Yeah.
Where does he go with this? Oh, it's the end of the show.
I was.
This is a good show. I'm going to subscribe.
I believe in this show.
Mhm.
I also
want to believe in this show.
Yes. I also believe in thanking our early adopters,
Oh,
Karen
me too.
Fleeger and
Yep.
Rick Parker.
Thank Rick.
Oh, sorry, wrong volume button.
Oh.
Ba-da.
Thank you, John.
Caught it up the
Helping
wrong
out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Not zoning out there. And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success level Patreon supporters, Marcus Taylor,
Yep.
Tony Great, Matt Marino, John Henderson,
Yeah.
Brandon Greer, and Nick Guillory.
Go, Nick. Awesome.
Thank you so very much, guys. We are so very grateful for your continued support. I believe in you.
Yes.
And I'm grateful that you believe in us.
Yeah.
If you'd like to join this group of believers, please go to patreon.com/1980s now to find out how you can help. Otherwise, we will talk to you again next time on 1980s Now.
Until next time.
I'm only drawn that way.
Oh.
John is bad, isn't he? So Joe says, I actually believe I saw an alien in the mid-70s. All kidding aside, still can see it in my memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey. Alien abductions happen to, quote, redneck hillbillies because their brains taste better.
Mm.
Wait a minute.
Right.
Are we
They're-
conflating aliens and zombies?
What's the? It's like tender meat. It's like the lamb that they don't let walk around because it's super tender. So,
Right, yes, that's right. They're living
whatever
in
that's called, the
right.
Right.
veal, whatever. Is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't use your brain, it's super tender and moist because you don't have all those.
Yes,
It's all nice and smooth.
Not sinewy.
No wrinkles
Yeah,
in
right.
it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a delicacy on Ignar Prime.
And Chad says, I would ask for a prostate exam while the aliens are down there. Yeah.
Oh, why not?
Ooh.
Their
I'm pretty-
technology is
some
better than ours.
Alabama brain.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know if they document it, but I mean, you're getting a prostate exam. They're going right past the prostate, Chad. Yeah, you're right. They could probably take a peek.
We're not stuck.
yeah.
As we zip by the prostate, we'll take a look.
Yeah, we'll get it on our way back.
We'll be.
Everything in order there? All right.
We're going top speed past that. Though.
Yeah.
We're using the X waves, not
After
the
we
S
check your
waves.
esophagus via your sphincter.
Oh, switch to S wave. Switch to S wave.
Ooh.
Did you say switch to ass waves?
I didn't.
Hi.
but-
And John did it while going like this. Switch to ass waves. Switch to ass waves.
Hi.
It reminds me of this Jessica Rabbit video I've seen on the internet.
Oh.
Speaking of which,
Oh, he's gonna bury.
Done.
Yep.
All right, it's almost. I guess it could be time.
Yeah, we're.
get my money's worth.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us on this late notice on an off day.
Yes.
We
thank you
appreciate
for
it. So we won't be here Wednesday.
Groovy
It's
toovy.
life.
joining. Right.
But we will talk to you again soon.
Yes.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
Next week.
Nice.
Bye.